Well, hello everybody. Welcome to Aquarius Rising Africa. And it is awesome, mystery, magical, marvelous Monday with our beautiful Brice. How are you, Mornay? How are you, Brice?
I'm so excited to be here. I know my location is different. I'm in Florida at the moment. I'm actually, as I told you guys, I'm actually filming from the bed. I do have my bra on, don't worry. And my bed is set up, and I've got my laptop on pillows. So if you guys see the laptop shift, it's because I'm literally set up on the bed. There's no demon here, I promise. Even though we're going to be talking about haunted dolls, it's pillows, so don't freak out.
Well, absolutely. But before we get on to that very creepy little topic, we have got something we want to share with our viewers. So, Brice has set up a 30-day, I'm just going to call it Shift Your Ass Challenge.
Yeah, we should change it. Yes, shift your ass.
I think it should be called Shift Your Ass. I think we should call it the 30-day Shift Your Ass Challenge.
You know what? Before I set up the email, I should have come to you because that is better than the shadow work challenge. No, you guys, this is awesome. I've already talked about this a lot on my channel, and I've already gotten 77, which to me is a very God number. As of this morning, 77 people had already emailed me to do this challenge. And I talked to Mornay and Shanti this morning, and Catherine Edwards, and of course Stephanie. Stephanie is not here today. You guys probably noticed she'll be back next week, but she's also aware of this, and so I feel like all four of our channels are kind of sponsoring this at the moment because Catherine is donating for prizes, some courses. Stephanie is donating some tarot card readings. But basically what this is, guys, and this is what we talk a lot about, like I think out of all of the truthers, we're kind of the few saying, listen.
We're not truthers, please. I don't even want to be put into that same category.
I don't even know how
Let us not be called that. Thank you.
But we keep saying, like, you gotta do it yourself. Like, I know, Shanti, we've had so many conversations about the body and how the body's telling you things. And this is a very foreign concept for a lot of Westerners. And even though shadow work, as we call it, because it is facing that shadow side of yourself, can be very hard, it's also very liberating and very rewarding. And a lot of people, before we started doing this, had emailed me not knowing how to start or where to start. And so I created a template for 30 days for the month of November. And each day, this is totally free of charge. So all you got to do is just email me, and at the end of this week, I'm going to send you the template for the whole month of November. So for example, I'll give you an example for day 1. So day 1 is Tuesday, November 1. I have a link for you to do a 45-minute bar exercise. It's for beginners. And then journal, questions to ask yourself. If you did the exercise first thing in the morning, how did it affect the rest of your day? What was your experience in the class? Did you feel any emotions coming up in the class? If so, what were they? Can you explore those emotions more privately? Then I also have turning off all electronics 1 hour before bed and go to bed before 10 p.m. You also have bonus challenges like drink 64 ounces of water to help you detox. If you're not a vegetarian, maybe challenge yourself a few days to go without eating meat. See how you feel. And every day, you're going to have more and more and more activities. So at some point, as far as the exercise, now we're all yoga fans, but I do other exercises too. I know Shanti and you guys do other stuff as well. So I've got an array of different types of beginner-friendly exercises, from the bar classes to beginner yoga to kickboxing for people who maybe have anger management problems, to some fun dance videos for the Sunday Fun Day. I put some dance videos up for you to learn how to use your body and express your body in a very different way. A lot of times in the Western world, I can speak from experience, we are taught that exercise is like a punishment. It's so that we can get skinny to fit in some jeans. And I even put in this challenge that I don't want you weighing yourself. I do not want you to weigh yourself. I want you just to see your body as something that's an instrument that can be used, and that it can tell you things. And really, the exercise is really a part for you to understand, like, what's moving in your body, what your body is actually capable of. And I'm putting different exercises in this so that you can experience different modalities, so that when this month is over, you'll have a better understanding of what works better for you so that you can make more autonomy, take more autonomy into your own practice. Now, again, one day I start putting you at the end of your shower, turn the cold water on for 5 minutes. And I've got a link for the episode that Shanti and I did over cold therapy for you to look at. I've got some Wim Hof stuff to look at. And so, anyway, and again, as the month goes by, as we get towards the end of the book, there's going to be, or the end of the month, there's going to be more challenging questions. Like we're going to look at what is betrayal, what is forgiveness. My favorite exercise that I'm going to have you guys do, that I'm actually going to do myself, is I'm going to have you find someone in your life, this comes later on in the month, that you really admire. And I'm going to have you write a letter to that person that you love and admire, and write in that letter everything you admire about that person and you love about that person. And you can either sign your name or keep it anonymous. You can mail the person that letter or put it in your, we'll talk about that in a second, neck bone, because it can be, but there's going to be some more boundaries with kids, and I'll get that, but that's a really good question. So this letter, though, that you're going to be writing to this person you're admiring, you're going to eventually mail it or give it to that person. And then after you do that experience, I want you to journal about everything you admired in that person. And I want you to reflect on how all the things you admired in that person are actually aspects of yourself as well. Because part of the shadow work, we always say, things that annoy you about someone are things that annoy you about yourself. But what people neglect to tell you sometimes too is the things you admire in somebody are also things about yourself that you love. And so if we start learning to balance that, I'm going to have you write down like things you like about yourself, 3 things you want to work on. We're going to talk about childhood trauma a little bit. Now, with that being said, I'm not a therapist. This is just a beginner for you to start to explore these topics. If you do feel, I feel like I do need to say, if you do feel like you need to see someone, if this gets really hard, then Shanti is an incredible healer. There's so many incredible healers on this platform that you can get in touch with, or a therapist. So I do want to put that out there. If it does get really hard, I expect it to be hard for people, but if it feels overwhelming, I do want you to reach out to someone to help you, or contact me. I'll help you find someone. No big deal. Now for kids, Neckbone, yes, kids can do this with you, but I would not pressure them to do the journaling every day and all that kind of stuff. It's like, I know Shanti and I've talked about this, like my teacher in India says with yoga, especially, that with kids, especially if they're like below the age of 10, that you need to make it fun for them, like a game. Like they need to be playing a game, and it's like exercise. Like if they do the bar,
or they can draw. Instead of writing, they can draw. We've got our Sun Kids workshops at the moment that we run. And it's amazing because if they're not comfortable writing, then they draw a picture, or they express themselves in another type of way that's more creative. But yeah, it needs to be fun. And please, also for the yoga, the actual physical yoga, if your child is under 8, don't get them to do the adult yoga. Their bones are still too soft, if that makes sense. So you want their bones to develop first, and then you want to get them into the more challenging postures. But before that, absolutely, they play yoga, they play games. Remember, yoga is all about nature and sacred geometry. So it's running around, becoming the snake, becoming the lion, becoming the dog. So that's what it is, rather than doing the actual. Of course, they can do sun salutations and things. Kids need to stretch their bodies and feel their bodies, but not when it comes to the hectic stuff. That's
and like also too, so if you have them do like the bar videos with you, or like the dance videos with you, if they start doing it and they run off and go play with their dolls and then come back, that's totally fine. Just let them do that. I know the Sunday Fun Day, I have fun exercises. Like one is a dance. I actually did it the other day. It's a dancing one, and I actually put make sure to smile and have fun. You actually see kids in the video too doing it as well. And so that stuff, just let them. And when it gets to the real heavy topics that we get into, like hurt, betrayal, all that kind of stuff, and I know Shanti and Mornay work with kids a lot. I would, if you want to talk to your kids, I would say, well, when did someone hurt your feelings? Or you can word it in a way that's more kid friendly versus the real hard stuff that adults then have to face and go back to. So some of the real heavier healing modalities, as a parent, just your child, if you want them to participate in the exercise, just make it very simple for them. You know,
Yeah.
I laugh. I say this very laughingly. As a child, they're working on their trauma to work on as an adult right now. No, I'm just kidding.
I just want to add to that, which is very important. Remember, our kids are our teachers at the end of the day, especially when they're at a young age. And if this is the first time that you're doing this kind of work, you go in and you're going to discover a lot of things about your own inner child that's been hurting, or where you got pain or humiliations or stuff like that. So be careful not to project that on your kid if you're doing this with your kids. So be very
Yes.
careful about projecting your stuff. You know, your kids will obviously pick up with what you're going through at that moment. So if you're doing it with your kid, it's very important to be honest, but have that beautiful boundary. You know, don't, yeah, it's, kids are very sensitive. They're very much, especially 8 and younger. I mean, they're so aware of these things. Maybe they don't have the words for it. So, yeah.
Yeah. And
Just
that's
be careful about projecting.
exactly. And I say in this, in the beginning of this, I have an intro and I tell you, like, this is an experience for you, for your own work. Now, if you're help guiding your child, that's one thing. But for you as an adult, this is an experience for you to have alone. No one's going to be watching you exercise. No one's going to be judging you. Shantae, Mornay, and I aren't going to be sitting there watching you. No one's going to read your journal entries, so you can be as vulnerable as you want. And a lot of times in the exercise, I tell you to do some things by yourself. And that is so that you can, you know, when we talk about betrayal, I know there's going to be some adults, as I was writing the lesson for that day, I know there's going to be some adults that are going to immediately go back to a time in their life where maybe they were not touched properly by an adult. We'll put it that way. And they're going to have to work through that. And you don't want to project that onto your child, especially if your child has an experience that is, Mornay is absolutely 100% correct in saying that. So if your kids want to do it, just have fun with them. Now, I want to say with the adults too, every single day for 30 days, you are going to have some activities to do. However, if you decide to do this challenge and one day you mess up, one day you don't do your exercise or you don't journal, that's okay. That's okay. It's just a template. One of my favorite quotes from Anna Green Gables, the book Anna Green Gables, is where she says, tomorrow is a new day with no mistakes in it. And so if there comes a day during this challenge where you messed up and you got off track, don't quit. Tomorrow's a new day. You just start again. And those times where we fall off track, those times where we mess up, we learned a lot from that. Like, that's a nugget of information to carry forth. So I want people to understand, I'm not expecting everybody who does this challenge to do everything perfectly on the challenge day every day, right? Like, there's going to be some things you're going to mess up on, and that's totally fine. I mean, Shantae, Mornay, we've been in this healing world for years now. How many times have we messed up? I can't even count them. I don't even know.
I never mess up, ever. So it's important to know that, ever.
Exactly.
No perfection does not apply to me.
I'm just perfect. I just did it all perfectly the first time, you know.
Perfectly imperfect.
Perfectly imperfect. That's beautiful. Well, there's going to come days when we get deeper into the challenge where I'm going to give you many options of many different things to do, so you can pick which one works for you. So you start to take that autonomy, and you only learn that autonomy when you're actually know yourself, and knowing yourself sometimes comes from messing up. And so I wanted to express that as well. But yes, anybody who emails me, again, the email address is shadowworkchallenge@gmail.com. After we get off this, I'll text you guys the emails if you want to put in the description box. And at the end of this week, I will send out a template to everyone. Now, if you email me on the email, shadowworkchallenge@gmail.com, at the end of the month of November, your name will go into a raffle for certain prizes. I know Shanti's going to be donating what was it? Y'all are going to
a one-day core alchemy workshop. So it's a recording of our core alchemy one-day workshop that we've done. Very cool workshop.
That's a high price ticket that will be for one person. And then I'm going to donate the Embody Bar, a month of Embody Bar exercises for somebody to have access to that platform, which Marnie Alton is amazing. She's incredible. And then Stephanie is donating 2 different tarot card readings, and Catherine Edwards is donating some of her courses as well. And so not one person is going to win all those prizes. We're going to pull names at random for different prizes to give to the people who emailed me. Now, if you don't want to be entered into the raffle, but you do want to participate in this challenge, on my community tab, starting in November, every day I'm going to put what the challenge is. So you can just follow along on the community tab. with that as well if you don't want to be entered into the raffle. So that's fine too. I have 77 people so far. Let's try to make it over 100, because if we all, it's like the Michael Jackson song, The Man in the Mirror. If we start working on ourselves, everything changes. You know, a lot of times I know I keep saying Monty. It's like I've combined Shanti and Mornay, you know, the celebrity names. You're now Monty. That's y'all's name is Monty now. So Shanti and Mornay talk a lot with Jesse Zaboter about everything going on with the underbelly of our society. And something that I think a lot of people in the spiritual world understand is that until we heal the underbelly of our own psyche, once that's healed, then what the people around us are doing can't exist anymore. Does that make sense? Like
if everyone does their own thing, then the world heals itself.
It heals itself. And so that's the secret, guys. That's the alchemy, as Shanti always talks about. That's you turning your lead into gold. And I want everybody to know too, like I think in our modern day society, we have this expectation of perfection. You didn't come to earth to be perfect. You didn't. That's not why you came here. As Mornay says, perfectly imperfect. And the shadow work, in my opinion, your wounds, as dark and as hard as they are, they're very sacred. They're very, very sacred. And it takes courage. It takes a lot of courage to face that. And so just know that it's okay to cry. It's okay. You know, I know people that get so overwhelmed. Sometimes they'll go sit in their car and hold a pillow and just scream into the pillow. If you got to do that, do it. You know, so anyway, so I'm hoping more and more people will email us, and I'm so excited that we're going to do this, because we are the storm. You guys are the storm. You're lightning in a bottle.
Yeah.
In your body.
Looking forward to that, which is coming up on the 1st of November. So, Brice, is there a link that we can put in?
So I released an info video yesterday on my channel. I'll send it to you guys. It explains more about it. I'll send you that link after we're done, and you can put it in the description box. And yeah, you just email me, and then I'll put the and then I'll send, or anybody watching can email the shadow work. Don't email esotericatlanta@gmail.com. Specifically email shadowworkchallenge@gmail.com. That's so I don't miss you, okay? Because my Esoteric Atlanta Gmail gets really slammed packed. And so this particular email, shadowworkchallenge@gmail.com, is what you're going to email to get the schedule for the challenge. And you won't get it though, so don't expect a response right away. It'll come, the template for the challenge will come at the end of this week, okay? When I have everything completely ironed out for you guys.
Perfect. Great. Okay, so talking about shadowy things, let's move on to today's topic, which are the haunted dolls, Annabelle and Okiku, right?
Okiku and Annabelle. And you guys, I was telling them before we went live, I did not realize how many haunted toys there were. You can legit go on eBay, and for like $9.99, you too can get yourself a haunted doll. People collect these things. Like, there are people who collect haunted dolls. And I'm just like blown away by it. Listen, I already got enough craziness in my life. I don't need no doll haunted. So the fun never ends with these dolls. But I wanted to start off with Okiku, actually, because this was a doll I'd never heard of before, that I just stumbled upon in my research. And can I share screen? I'm going to actually pull up a article about Okiku before we get into. Let's see if I can do this properly. I'm so bad at. Let's see. How do I do this? No, that's not it. So do I find does it come up now? Do you see it?
There you are.
All right, cool. Sorry, guys. I'm really bad at technology. So I want to just kind of read through this before we get to Annabelle, because this popped up and I was like, holy crap. Literally, this is freaky. Okiku. I apologize if I'm not saying that right, guys. The Japanese haunted doll that puts Chucky to shame. All right, so let's skip on down here. So in 1918, a young man purchased the doll, who would later on claim the name Okiku. As for his own 2-year-old sister, the legend would kickstart a tourist flash. Now let's talk about Robert the doll from last week. Robert also had the same name as Gene, his human, right? It was Robert's human was Robert Eugene Otto, and Gene gave Robert the doll his name. So this little girl also gave this doll her name, which is Okiku. So Japanese during this era was still stuck in the ways of feudalism, while the world around her was embracing the progress of technology and science. Japan was holding tight to her beliefs and into her rich mythology and fables. This was a land still, by all accounts, where demons, ghosts, vampires, and other creatures roamed free. A land where goblins and evil spirits were constantly harassing normal folks. All right, so let's go on down a little bit. There is a forest that I'm going to talk about eventually in Japan he speaks of, but we're going to get to that later. So so the 17-year-old kid, Suzuki, in 1918 bought this doll for his 2-year-old sister, Okiku. He was touring the region for a maritime exhibition. The doll instantly drew to his eyes. The perfect little thing sat on the window shop, enticing him. Suzuki didn't think twice. He went in and instantly purchased the figurine for his sister and used the last of his money for it. So that's interesting. I felt very drawn to Okiku too. That's why I want to cover her. He spent the last of his money. Like, he didn't just go and get some random doll. He bought an expensive doll. It's like he was drawn to this. So at about 4 centimeters tall and dressed in a traditional kimono, the doll was exquisite. Its hair was raven black.
How many centimeters? 4.
Do what?
How many centimeters tall?
40 centimeters.
Oh, 40. Okay. All right. Thank you.
I don't know. I'm an American. I don't know really how tall that is, but I've seen the pictures.
No, that's pretty tall. Well, it's an average size doll. Half a meter, nearly half a meter.
So that's kind of what I'm thinking. Here's her picture, and I know I sent more. We can look at close up at some of the pictures when I pull this down, because I sent some stuff to Mornay as well. So her eyes were piercing coals that seemed to swallow everything up in their gaze. Suzuki went back home and gave the doll to his little sister. The tyke fell in love with the doll immediately, which is the exact same thing that happened with Robert the doll and Gene. It transformed into Okiku's favorite toy and, more importantly, her best friend. We heard that too with Robert, that this was our Gene, that Robert and Gene, it was his best friend. Okiku played every day with the doll, took it everywhere, and treated the figurine like a little sister. She would talk, prattle with the thing, feed it, sleep with it. She decided to call the doll Okiku, a mirror duplicate of herself. The doll never left Okiku's sight. Then roughly a year later, tragedy struck. In 1919, the little girl, the human girl, Okiku, died. Yellow fever had descended on the land and robbed the family robbed the family of the little girl. Okiku died gasping for air and in pain and afraid. The doll held firmly in her grasp. She was only 3 years old. The family wanted to bury the doll along with Okiku, but circumstances and governmental oversight prevented this last act of kindness on their part. The doll was never laid to rest with Okiku. Okiku, the doll, was alternatively located in the family's altar, a common practice in certain Japanese households to commemorate the dead. So this is very common in a lot of Asian communities. They do this in India as well, where they have shrines to their dearly departed family members. So the small shrine celebrated their daughter and marked her passing into the afterlife. This is when the weirdness started to occur. One day, the family started to notice the doll's hair was getting longer. Once a traditional shoulder-length cut with neat ends, now mangled mess of split ends reaching past down her waist. It was scruffy, different colors, and felt different. At night, they started to dream of Okiku, and sometimes the doll would appear by their side come morning, which is going to be the next case of Annabelle that's happened with Annabelle too. The chilling events intensified and grew into full-blown acts of spiritual infestation, lights flickering on and off, banging in the house, noises and strange voices. The closer the year got to certain key dates, Okiku's birthday and day of death. Over time, they were certain, and town shamans, spiritual leaders concurred that their daughter's soul was in fact trapped within the doll. This is going to be interesting because this is going to come up with Annabelle too. All right. In 1938, the family relocated to a different district. They had by now become accustomed to Okiku and had even grown fond of their daughter's restless spirit. To them, it was magical and a unique opportunity to interact with the dead. Not desiring to take Okiku with them, fearing that what fueled her magic was the proximity to their daughter's grave, the family approached the local temple and asked them to take care of the doll. The temple by now had heard countless stories of the amazing doll, the haunted doll whose hair grew every year. They were fascinated, skipping like schoolgirls with the prospect. The priest gleefully accepted the charge and started taking care of Okiku. Over time, they managed to confirm the veracity of some of the claims, particularly that the hair does indeed grow. The priests have sent out. Yes.
That's
freaky.
It's freaky. The priests have sent out cut samples of the hair for scientific analysis. Scientific examination of Okiku proved that the hair was that of a human child. Regularly, the hair gets trimmed and the doll stays happy and content. After the years passed, the doll's fame grew and her powers further developed. She's bolder now, invading the dreams of the priest and those who come to visit her. She's stronger, her hair growing faster and wilder, and she's even spookier. The last event driving tourists mad is the frightening claim that the mouth of the Okiku is slowly opening, that if you dare to peer inside, you may see the glimpse of something like baby teeth sprouting like leaves from porcelain gums. Oh, like that is so freaky. So she is still on display at a private shrine in a little wooden box in Mahanji Temple. I know I'm probably not saying that right. In the town of Iwanzwaka. Sorry for the Japanese viewers. I'm probably not saying that. She's there waiting for who all want to play with her with fire and have a one-on-one conversation with the paranormal and the bizarre. So,
It's just disgusting. I mean, baby teeth growing from porcelain gums. I mean, how gross is that? That's just like
so gross. And I think I sent you a blown up picture of her shrine now where she is. So guys, like to me, she looks like she's aging. Like that looks like an older woman's face. And the
that looks definitely like an old lady. That doll does not look like a child.
No. And this child, died in 1919 and she was 3. So she would have been born in 1916. So she would be over 100 years old now if she were still alive. So, and the fact that it's like there's a lot of speculation with a lot of these dolls, right? Where we don't really have that much proof. But the hair effing grows. Like, it grows. And the priests have to cut it and take care of her. Now, it's interesting because, again, there's a lot of similarities with all these haunted doll cases. We see a lot with Robert. Robert is got the same name of his owner. Now, when we get to Annabelle, the next story, there's going to be some similarities as well. So there are common similarities between all these hauntings. Now, from my understanding, Robert nor Annabelle have growing hair or human teeth. So that makes Okiku an anomaly with that. And if we have any Japanese viewers, I would love to hear your perspective. If you've been to Okiku's, I hope I'm saying her name right. I think it's Okiku's shrine, or if this is like an urban legend in Japan, or even if we have non-Japanese viewers who have seen this, who have been there, I want to hear from you. Like, did you see the teeth?
Do we know what the name means? One of the viewers is asking us.
I don't know what it means because I actually
maybe check. Mornay, would you mind just to check? Maybe if we can find the meaning.
It's her. So it was the little girl's name. The daughter's name was Okiku too. And the reason why I wanted to read that from the article, because I found Okiku as I was finishing up my research on Annabelle. And so I was like, and I was instantly drawn to it. Like I was saying, you guys, there's so many haunted dolls out there. Again, you can just, there are some batshit crazy people out there that are collecting these dolls. I apologize if you're one of them, but that is just a road to hell, to perdition that I just don't want to go down. I've had,
especially if you know the doll's haunted.
They know. Listen. I grew up in a haunted house. My elementary school was haunted. I have had enough. Chrysanthemum. Okiku was the name of a servant girl who lost a precious plate, died a terrible death, and returned as a vengeful. Okay, a vengeful ghost. That's going to get into Annabelle. And it's going to get into, we're going to get into two of my favorite people in modern pop culture. Have you guys
sage? Wait, I need sage. Is there sage in my room? I want to burn some sage, yeah.
Y'all, I don't think Okiko's a little girl. Let me just put it this way. I don't think Okiko's a little girl. Okay, so I want you guys to remember that the parents thought that their daughter was like haunting this, which, okay, and I said this last week with the theories around Robert being the nanny, the maid's daughter, and the doll. I just don't think a parent would ever curse their child to be in a doll, because I think as a parent you want your child to move on. But I can understand that maybe if your 3-year-old child dies, you might go a little cuckoo, a little wackadoo. I can totally get that. Like, that's very traumatic. And you think this spirit's your daughter, so therefore you're clinging to it. But do you guys know who Ed and Lorraine Warren is over in Africa? Have you guys heard that couple? Ed and Lorraine Warren. They're two of my favorite people in pop modern culture, even though they're both dead now. I think I sent you a picture, Morning, black and white, of a man and a woman. So that's Ed and Lorraine Warren. So Annabelle, this is going to lead us to Ed and Lorraine Warren, which I actually kind of want to go through, if you guys are up for it, a lot of their cases, because they are probably two of the most famous ghost hunters, paranormal experts in America. And even if you haven't heard of them, you might have heard of some of their cases. So Ed Warren was born on September 7th, 1926. Lorraine Warren was born on the 31st of January, 1927. So they were paranormal investigators associated with very famous hauntings. Ed was a self-taught demonologist, and Lorraine was a clairvoyant. In 1952, they founded the New England Society for Psychic Research. They investigated over 10,000 cases. So one of their most famous cases was the Amityville. I think I sent you a picture, Mornay, of the house. So this comes into the movies. So this is the movies, the Amityville Horror and the Conjuring. So most people have heard of the Amityville Horror movies. Okay, that was based on a real story. Okay, this house is in Long Island. And basically with this house, on the 13th of November, 1974, Ronald DeFeo Jr. shot and killed 6 members of his family. And then the next family to move in, George and Kathy Lutz and their 3 kids, on December 1975, George came screaming out of the house saying that this house was haunted and was telling him to hurt his family. And so since we have 2 direct cases from this house that show the possible infestation of hauntings, Ed and Lorraine Warren started to research this house. And again, this house got very, very famous, very, very famous through the movies. There's lots of different movies, a series of movies on this house. Other movies that have been based off of some of Ed and Lorraine Warren's cases have been The Conjuring, and even a movie called Annabelle based on Annabelle that we're going to talk about now. So the thing with Ed and Lorraine Warren with their society, so their society that they founded in 1952 was very interesting because they used, they didn't just use themselves. They had an array of people that worked on these cases, medical doctors, researchers, police officers, students, and members of the clergy. So Ed and Lorraine Warren themselves were very religious. And so they saw everything as being demon possessed. Now, I have a very different view on demons and what demons really are. I think sometimes what a haunting is, people think is a demon, it isn't. But in some of these cases, I think they were correct. And so what ended up happening, they live in Connecticut where our friend Stephanie lives. And what ended up happening was they opened the Warrens Occult Museum. And this was in the back of their house in Monroe, Connecticut, which is basically, from my understanding, a part of Hartford, which is the capital of Connecticut. And so this museum held haunted objects from around the world, Annabelle being one of them. So let's get into Annabelle. And if you guys want, I know a lot of our viewers, if you're American especially, you're probably very familiar with Ed and Lorraine Warren. They were all over all the TV shows. Ed Warren died in 2006. Lorraine Warren just recently passed away in 2018. Now, this occult museum, after Lorraine passed away, was being run by her daughter and son-in-law, but at this point, I believe it's closed. I don't know if it closed for the lockdown and they just haven't opened it again. Listen, out of all the things that you could inherit from your parents, I would never want to inherit a museum full of haunted objects. I mean, I would be like, no thanks. Give it to my sister. I'm good. Can we not put that? I mean, most people like money from their parents. Could you imagine what kind of karma, what kind of soul contract is that you're going to inherit basically a room full of demonically possessed shit? like a jump guard, like thanks,
It,
Mom.
it brings a whole new meaning to inheriting demons.
I know. Talk about mommy and daddy issues. Can you imagine the therapist or the therapist hears from her daughter? So my parents left me some haunted dolls. Not only are they haunted, but they got demons attached to them. Could you imagine that therapy session? Like, count me. You know, we all have issues with our parents.
If someone, I mean, I imagine myself, right? Someone coming to me. I've heard some effed up shit in my life, okay, from people. If someone came to me and told me their parents left them some haunted dolls,
I would be like, I don't know how to help you. That really sucks. Did your parents hate you? Like, I don't know, like what?
Like, what did you do to them? What on earth did you do to them?
First of all, not only are your parents Ed and Lorraine Warren, like not only are they these famous demonologists that are constantly going and people are making fun of them, but then you get to inherit that shit. Like, what happened to their money? Like, where's the check? Can I just have the money? Like, I mean, so, listen. If Lorraine and Ed's daughter like closed the museum down for lockdown and then was like, nah, we're good, I don't blame her. I don't blame you. Like, talk about some. Maybe we should send her our shadow work challenge. That might be some interesting shadow work to work through. I
mean, they would need to sign up very quickly for the shadow work. I suggest you sign up for.
I suggest you sign up for a shadow work because I cannot. Like, I mean, there are things I know. Listen, everybody needs to pick the phone up and call their parents today. And regardless of whatever happened in your childhood, just be like, thank you for not leaving me a haunted room full of shit. Like, thank you. Like, that is, I just can't, like, that's all I kept thinking about when I was researching this. I was like, this is the most, I was laughing. So fucked up. Like, and she's an only child. Like, I could be wrong, but I think there is one, I mean, at least I have a sibling. Like, if our parents left behind a museum full of haunted shit, at least I have a sister to deal with this with. Like, I'm like, you're an only child. I'm like, you have no, do you have a cousin? Like, is there someone that can help you with this? Because holy crap, like, I'm sorry. I mean, I know, like, and if you see pictures, I don't know, Morning, there's a picture of a Raggedy Ann doll in a box. That's Annabelle, which we're going to get into the story of Annabelle. But literally, if you guys Google pictures, I mean, literally, he inherited a room that's full of this kind of crap. I mean, it's like having parents who are hoarders.
I need an exorcist. I need an exorcist.
Honey, if her daughter happens to watch this show, I would love for you to write a book. You could write a smashing bestseller. The crap you have seen in your life. I mean, it. Like, you can't just burn it because the spirit's just going to go to something else. Like, that's a heavy responsibility to be put on a kid's shoulder. I mean, bless her heart. She probably just wanted to grow up and live a normal life, and now she's got all this junk. Anyway, but that's Annabelle, guys. That's Annabelle. So let's get into Annabelle.
Notice she has the cross on the top of her head. So I'm wondering, like, what that's about. Maybe it's
we'll get into that because apparently Annabelle's got a little demon living inside of her. So we're gonna talk about that. Y'all will never look at Raggedy Ann the same, will you? So I mean, look at that one's even worse. It's like dun dun dun.
No, that's just macabre. Seriously, that is just macabre. That's not even a nice doll.
No, it's not a nice doll. We're going to get into that. So who is that? That's Lorraine Holding. So that's Lorraine. She always did her hair up in this really funky bun. If anybody watching, especially United States, ever watched any of those ghost hunted paranormal shows that came on TV, a lot of times they brought Lorraine on to go into places and investigate. I mean, listen, they made a name for themselves. They probably made a shit ton of money doing this. I mean, God bless them. You know, they handle things that I would never want to handle this stuff. I'll just do YouTubes about it. I don't want to go visit this stuff. But, you know, anyway, let's talk about Annabelle. So Annabelle, this all started in the 70s. So Annabelle's a Raggedy Ann doll that was gifted to a nursing student named Donna by her mother. And this, again, was 1970, 1971. So she's in her mid-20s. Now, I don't mean to be judgmental. And I still have my doll hip in storage. But in my mid-20s, I did not want a doll for my mother for a gift. So that was kind of strange to me. I mean, maybe I my mid-20s, like, give me some stilettos. I don't know, like, but the mother gave her a doll. So she got a doll for a gift as in her 20s. And Donna was living in an apartment with her roommate named Angie. They were both nursing students at Hartford Hospital. So they lived in Hartford, Connecticut, same as the Warrens. Again, this was in the 70s. Now, at first, Donna would just like sleep with the doll, the Raggedy Ann doll, which I get. I hug a pillow when I sleep. So I can kind of get that, like hugging something when you sleep. But then over time, Donna started bringing the Raggedy Ann doll to the kitchen table, the breakfast table. And her and Angie were on the same rotation at the hospital. So they were these rotations. They worked from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. So they were all on the same schedule. So they left the apartment at the same time, came home at the same time. And they got a kick out of putting this Raggedy Ann doll in a chair at the breakfast table. Well, over time, the Raggedy Ann doll started to actually move on the table. And they thought this was just adorable. From all the accounts I read, listen.
Adorable? The Raggedy Ann doll starts moving on the table. I think it's adorable. You guys,
I've seen ghosts. I have seen demons. I have seen the weirdest crap in my life. But if a doll starts moving at the kitchen table, I'm getting up and I'm running. Like, you deal with it. I'm not gonna be like, oh, that's so cute. Look at this.
Yeah. I can deal with a demon, but a physical doll,
it starts
they can
like
pick up knives and stuff. I'll be
like, what the, I mean, I literally, when I was reading, I read multiple accounts of this story. I even listened to a lecture by Ed Warren that he gave on this story. And I'm like, maybe the early 1970s were a different time than when I was a kid, but I would have been like, oh, hell no. I would have ran out of that apartment and not gone back in. Like, and I don't know any of my friends that have been like, that's just so cute. She moves, you know? But anyway, over time, because of the antics with this doll and this life that started to come out of this doll, Angie had a medium friend. And so Angie thought that it would be fun to have a seance. I feel like nothing good ever comes from seances. Like, that's like that part in the horror film when they're like, let's have a seance. You're like, oh shit, it's about to get weird. Like, it's about to take a turn. And so they bring their medium friend over, and the medium friend says that the doll is haunted by a 7-year-old little girl named Annabelle Higgins. And the medium said that Annabelle Higgins died in a car accident right in front of the apartment building where Donna and Angie were living. And so the soul of this little girl found the doll and inhabited the doll. And so after this happened, Donna and Angie got even more attached to Annabelle, just kind of like Okiko's parents. So they thought they had this, like, from what I see it, these were these girls in their mid-20s. They probably desperately wanted to be mothers. And now they got this doll that it got this spirit of this little girl. So they started buying it clothes, treating it like their child. Well, over time, things started to get even more weird. Like, they would come home from their shift and there would be notes written in a kid's handwriting saying, help me. And then one night, Angie had her fiance Lou over to spend the night. Now, I'm going to say this. Now, I am definitely that little harlot that's never gotten, you know, I'm not married and I've lived with boys, so I'm not judging Angie. But I would say in the 1970s, that was probably a little bit more weird to have a boy spend the night. I'm just going to put, so Angie, you were a trailblazer. But Lou spent the night one night, and he was very freaked out by this doll, Annabelle. He was freaked out by it. He kept telling Donna and Angie, like, something's not right. This is creepy. Like, you girls need to snap out of it. And he was telling Angie and Donna that he feared what was going on with the doll was not a child and they should probably burn the doll. Well, that night, Lou was sleeping beside Angie, and he had a dream that Annabelle was strangling him. He woke up that morning and was telling the girls about his dream, and he had marks across his neck. And then as they realized he had marks across his neck, he didn't have his shirt on, he started freaking out and screaming at the doll, and these 7 slash marks appeared across his chest. So at that point, Angie and Donna realized they probably weren't messing with a little girl here. And so they contacted Ed and Lorraine Warren. Well, Ed and Lorraine Warren came over, and they immediately recognized that this was not a little girl, this was a demon. And Ed Warren says his belief was that God does not allow children to get stuck in objects. That God does not allow that with children. Children immediately get pulled back up into the light. But what happens is that demons will mimic children in order to entrance and entice humans. So what Ed Warren thought was that this doll had been used prior to the mother buying this doll and sending it to Donna. The mother didn't do this intentionally. She just thought it was a Raggedy Ann doll. Some of these dolls are used for what they call ritual, magic, and murder. So what he believed had happened was Annabelle, this doll, had been used to conjure a demon, to put a demon in the doll to be used ritualistically for murder. And so the Warrens took the doll out of the house and had the house blessed, and they locked the doll in that box you saw in the picture to keep the demon inside. Now, apparently, when you went, when you could go to the museum, there were certain rules around dealing with Annabelle, just like there are with Robert, because the demon was so powerful that was stuck inside the Raggedy Ann doll. And so that got me thinking about Okiku too, because the Raggedy Ann doll isn't growing hair and isn't growing teeth. From what I understand, Robert isn't growing hair and isn't growing teeth, but Okiku is. And part of me kind of believes that, kind of follows what Ed Warren is saying, that I think there needs to be a certain age where I think if a child, I don't know, maybe Jesse has more clarity on this, but if a child dies, I just feel like source creator, God, takes the child immediately.
Yeah, absolutely.
And doesn't send them to be stuck in some type of an object. You know, like, I mean,
yeah, I don't believe any of that. I think those demonic creatures can take on the shape and form of anything they like. They can pretend. I mean, all you got to do is look at these cute little things that, or cute little kids, whatever, and suddenly they turn into these nasty little monsters. They know exactly how to lure, obviously, people, and it's with innocence. So, you know, it makes sense, actually, what you're saying, that they would have actually used dolls and weaponized them to commit murder and stuff like that by filling it with some kind of entity or something like that.
Well, it goes back to the Robert from last week, where the minute that Gene unwrapped his gift, he was immediately like in a trance with Robert the doll, and we were speculating that something had been done to the doll before it left Germany. And then with Okiku too, the brother was so entranced by the doll that he spent all of his money to buy this one doll, and then the sister was immediately entranced. So I feel like I think Ed Warren was onto something, that and we got that last week with some of these companies, that they're doing this to these toys to wreak havoc, kind of like Toy Story.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
makes sense. It actually makes perfect sense to if you think about it, really, because what more innocent? I mean, we know that these guys are involved in high-level sorcery anyway. So what more innocent than a doll, a child's doll, to lie next to your baby and in your teddy bear and stuff like that? And, you know, we know exactly, these guys have been telling us what they're doing all this time, when we just have to go and watch the movies, right?
Yeah.
So if we're watching these kind of haunted movies with these haunted dolls and things, I'm pretty sure that this would be something that,
yeah, they did. I mean, they did do a movie. I believe it was called Annabelle, that was based on this story. And the doll wasn't a Raggedy Ann doll. They used a different doll, but they're telling you. Yep. Oh, there you go.
Oh my gosh, look at that thing. Oh my gosh. No, that's horrific.
Yeah. Yeah. So they do.
Look at that doll. Who can even want to? No. Who can? No, if someone brought me that doll as a child, I would have run a mile. I didn't play much with dolls. It was so funny because earlier on, Mona was saying, I was saying to Mona then, you know, when I was a kid, I probably would have been told to transgender or something. I grew up on the farm and I lived, you know, I was always with my dad, and I had overalls and wellies on, and always with my dad. I adored my father, so I was always with him, you know. And I said to Mona, I said, you know, like, yeah, I was, otherwise, you know, I didn't really play much with dolls. They couldn't really talk back to me. So, you know, and then I realized, it was like, okay, probably a good thing that I talk back to me.
I mean, like, I don't remember any of my toys doing crazy shit, but I grew up in a haunted house anyway, but apparently this is more common than we think it is. Like, apparently, like, this is way more common that we have. I mean, as you were saying last week, Mornay, about your Ninja Turtles. Like your think about like G.I. Joe, stuff like that. That's like dolls for boys. You know, could you have ended a Toy Story? The G.I. Joes kind of move and do things. Oh, that was one thing about Annabelle too. They said, because, you know, Raggedy Ann and Raggedy Andy dolls, they're very soft. Like, they're not plastic, they're soft. So, oh man, no, I never did. Dun dun dun.
We'll have to go see.
But they were saying that Annabelle would stand up on her own. And she's a Raggedy Ann doll. She's not plastic. Like, there's no way she should have been able to do that, because she was made of cotton and you know, fabrics. And so she, you know, she flops. She's Raggedy Ann. So I just, like, I mean, I'm telling you guys, like, if you want to have some fun today, just Google YouTubes of people with haunted dolls. People are, like, obsessed with this too, but it makes you wonder, like, is the cabal doing this on purpose, making people weirdly obsessed with these haunted toys? That it's not the toy, it's a spirit that's in the toy. It's like last week with Robert, what got me with Robert was the picture of the aura, that there was an aura around the doll. So it's and I know next week when Stephanie comes back on, if we can maybe ask her even more questions about this too, because she can't be here today, but yeah, this is, I mean, could you imagine? I mean, I just, listen, I think I would honestly, I think I would shit my pants if adults.
No, I'm sorry. That's very, I mean, anything like that is definitely demonic. Nothing like that is good. And even if you say a good spirit possesses a doll, that spirit should not be possessing the doll to begin with.
I don't think good spirits possesses dolls. I don't think so.
No.
It might not be one that kills you or does Chucky on you. But I can't imagine, because that spirit back with its creator, then there's a reason it's trapped in the doll. It's very frustrated. It knows how to manipulate.
Yes.
No.
Okay, so we talk about that a lot with yoga, about the Shakti and the Shiva. Like the Shakti is the body's expression of the soul. So demons, so these controllers, demons are in spiritual form. They throw them into an object like a toy. Then they have a body to manipulate with, to be able to come into our realm with. And so now I'm not saying you got to go burn all your kids' toys right now. Chances are, if you haven't seen anything weird happen with your kids' toys, it's fine. Yeah, do not traumatize your child like that. Like, that would be, listen, that would be some shadow work for them later on in life, that time that their mom burned all her toys because they watched us on Aquarius Rising Africa talking about Annabelle and OKIKU. So this, you know, I don't, like I said, I don't remember having any like toys that did anything like that, you know, no, like that never. So for a lot of toys, they're just toys. But if, you know, but I said this last week and I'll say it again. If anybody watching had a haunted toy, will you email us? I want to hear your story.
Yeah.
I'm curious.
And we were also talking about, interesting, but I would love to, I'm just sitting here thinking, going back to our last week's discussion, we were talking about these dolls and the Cabbage Patch Kids. And all of that stuff and the birth certificates. I would love to know more about that sort of stuff, these dolls and stuff. Not necessarily haunted. Obviously, if you do have a haunted doll, I want a video clip of that. I want to see that doll walking around your room and crawling up your wall at night. Okay. I want to see that.
Well, I am going to be doing a deep dive into the Cabbage Patch Kids, and Steph and I are going to go to the factory at some point in the near future and kind of explore. And
okay, cool. Yeah.
It'll be a couple of weeks from now when we can do it, but yeah, because it is. If you really sit back and think about it, like, none of my dolls had birth certificates. Like, you know, was that just a fun little marketing thing they did, or is there more to it? You know, like, I don't know. Okay.
So yes, just this is Raggedy Ann.
Interesting.
Didn't know that.
Did not know that. Interesting. That is very interesting. Very interesting.
Interesting.
Well, we're Nancy Drew in this stuff. We see you, toy makers. We see you.
I'm going to take that word off our screen just in case we get struck.
And that's why none of us read it out loud. None of us read it out loud because we were like, oh, there was.
You know what came to me right now? They have to have our consent first. So using dolls, it forms like an emotional connection. So you're forming that emotional connection. It's physical.
Yep.
So then a demon can easily take that gap and communicate before it can go within yourself. So it could be like a little gateway into something, or a little. There's definitely a way they can use it, because we get so emotionally attached as kids with our toys.
Yep.
So if we're not in our integrity, if there's something going wrong in our life or something happened, it's an easy way to slither in and for the demons to come and, manipulate and do their things. So I can easily see how that works.
I bet you anything whoever cursed that Raggedy Ann doll with the demon did not expect that Raggedy Ann doll to be given to a 20-something-year-old grown woman. I think that was the biggest plot twist and mistake. If it had been given to a kid instead, it might have been a Robert the Doll situation. But maybe because it accidentally went to a 20-something-year-old woman, there was discernment. There was more discernment. There was other people around going, this shit isn't right. Like, this is not. Number one, in your 20s, maybe not be playing with dolls. I don't know. I don't know. But teach their own, whatever. But yeah, you wonder, like, what's with certain toys, they're gearing at a certain age. And at a certain age, we're more impressionable than, although I've met a very impressionable adults too. But typically speaking, at a certain age, we're more impressionable with these kinds of things. And kids believe in magic as well. Kids see the other side. They're more in tune with that. So if a doll starts playing back with them, it's not going to be as freaky as it would for me at 39 years old to see that happen. And so it's easier. I think you're right, Mornay. It's like an easy way in.
Interesting, this.
Yep. So yeah, there's something here, and I'm not saying, I'm not against toys at all. I think it's very sweet when you have a child that has a teddy bear or baby doll they love, but I'm against these toys that have demons attached to them. There's a big difference between the two. And so yeah. So I wanted to ask you guys, next Monday is actually Halloween. Do you guys want to continue going over some of Ed and Lorraine Warren's cases with Stephanie, or do you guys want me to cover that forest in Japan where people themselves a lot for Halloween?
They do what to themselves for Halloween?
I'm trying to it's the S word. We can't say it on YouTube. The S.
Okay, for Halloween.
There's a very famous forest in Japan. It was mentioned in that article. That's very notorious for people going and removing themselves because there's some type of possession there. So do you guys want to do more for Halloween? Do you want to do more of Ed and Lorraine's cases with me and Stephanie? Or do you want me to cover that forest and then have Stephanie pull cards on it?
I think
we can do that. Yeah. Do you guys want to do the Japanese forest on next week or the dolls again? You have a vote, guys. You have a vote here.
So I'm down for anything. The weirder the better. So whatever, and it's Halloween, so let's make it fun. Whatever you guys want me to do, I want to give that to you guys in the audience decision what we do next week. So let's see what kind of trouble we can get in next week.
Okay, we got the forest for next week. Go the forest. Yeah.
Perfect.
Thank you, Scotty.
Forest next week, guys, and Stephanie will be back next week too. So
fun. Guys, go and check all those toys of yours now. Go shake them around and make sure like you bury them in the forest or throw them in the ocean.
Go take your anointing oil and go throw it on all your toys now.
Everybody's gonna go buy holy water and just start throwing them on their kids' toys.
Yeah.
No, but honestly, they freak me out, and I will run away for a moment and just find myself again. If it's my friend that inherited so many creepy dolls, I'll be like, okay, buddy, got my sage, got my crystals, got my anointing oil, got my singing bowls, got whatever. Take Jesus, take everybody else. Is like, we'll do this.
Really
I'll be with you.
Yeah. Let's keep Lorraine and Ed Warren's daughter in our prayers tonight. Like, that is some. That is
Yeah.
some karma. So,
Yeah, you must be a strong soul to deal with that stuff.
yep, she's now the fine owner of a bunch of haunted toys. So,
Well, I'm just happy I ain't her. So,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly.
that's for sure.
I'll take
That's
the
for sure.
regular trauma over that kind of drama any day. I'll just take the regular stuff, not that stuff. So, and yeah, go call your parents, regardless of what your parents did to you as a kid. Just call them and thank them for not leaving you a junk room full of haunted toys. Okay,
Yeah,
just
you can be extremely grateful about that. But you know what's funny? But you know what's funny about spirits? Usually, like, humans are not aware when they're there and when they're around, and sometimes when humans see them, they go, ah, they like get all freaked out. But when I see them, because I can see beyond the realms, you must see, and they don't know I can see them. And you must see them when they see me. They go, ah! Serious. They look at me with shock and horror as if like, and then they quickly disappear.
I'm going to put this out there to the universe and to Lorraine and Ed Warren's daughter, if she's listening. When all this shenanigans are over, I want to bring Mornay and Shanti to the United States, and I want to go to the Occult Museum with them. And let's see if Shanti can tell us what these spirits are really up to. For all we know, we're sitting there picking their noses, pulling wedgies out of their butt.
Roaming around.
Roaming
Just
around. Maybe they're all
roaming
date night in there. We think they're demons and they're haunted, but it's really just old grandpa and grandma having some fun together at the occult museum. And
exactly. And then they don't expect you to see them. And then they get a big fright when you see them. That's so hilarious.
Yeah, I must say, I can remember my first time when I saw a tree spirit. It was a bougainvillea. Bougainvillea. It was the same effect. I was just sitting there, and I saw it there. And at the moment it saw me, it was like, it was a he or she, it was a tree spirit, you know. But yeah, it's that thing. He saw me. He saw me.
And it's so funny. It's so funny as well, because also when you start communicating with animals, now, I mean, I've been doing it for 15 odd years now, maybe more, since 2009, whenever that was, like officially. And it's like, obviously over the years, more and more animal communicators have kind of sprung up. But sometimes when those animals, when they see or when you connect to them, they're like, what the hell? You can talk to me? It's crazy. It's amazing. It's amazing.
I'll
So
have
it's
to
like,
admit, if the day comes, there are some people that I would definitely really get a kick out of haunting. Like if I died tomorrow and God was like, "Here's the door," I'd be like, "Hold on, just 1 second. I got some errands I want to run." So it'd be really crappy if they could see me. Hold on 1 second.
Just keep the door open, God. I'm coming back right now. Hold this lift.
Never run some errands quickly because there are some people that I would really like to haunt just for a day or two, and then be like, "All right, I'm good." And they could see me, I'd be pissed. I'm like, what's the point in being dead if you can see me? So, and I know our audience watching now, you got to be honest with yourself, audience watching. There are probably people you would totally haunt if you could. So,
Yeah.
So.
Oh, wow. Oh, what a fun day, Brice.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing this. Very interesting. And if any of you have haunted dolls or haunted cars or haunted teddies or haunted anything, you can let us know.
Yes.
We
Haunted
would
chairs.
love
That's
to
a
hear your story.
haunted chairs.
Yeah, haunted chairs that run around. Yeah, anything.
Yeah,
But
let us know. Because this shit's wild. It's wild to me that this is a bigger problem than I ever thought it was when I started investigating this. I was like, oh, this happens. Like, this isn't just some anomaly. Like, this happens. So please let me know.
Exactly. Oh no, lovely. So next week we will be back with the haunted Japanese forest, or the not haunted, but we never know
It's something
what
about I've
dodgy.
known about this forest for a while, but it's kind of like Robert the Doll. I've been like shying away from it because there's something so dark about it. But you know what? Let's go there. Let's go there. Let's see what's going on at this Japanese
We're
forest.
going back. Yeah, we're going back to that Japanese forest. We're going to talk about that. So tune in for another beautiful Mystery Monday with beautiful Brice and Stephanie. I think we'll be back next week. Brice and I are on again on Wednesday on Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. We're hoping to finish Tartaria this week, but I'm not sure that we will.
The
But
Tartarian gods
either
are like,
way,
hold on.
yeah, either
Another
way, we'll see you guys on Wednesday again. But I'll be back with Brice on Solutions with Aquarius Rising Africa. So, guys and gals, God bless you all. Thank you for tuning in and having some creepy fun with us on Mystery Monday. It's so fun. I'm just happy I'm not like you guys that are going to bed now after hearing all these stories
We're
about
just starting our day, so here in America. So
Exactly. Okay, everybody, lots of love. Thank you all so much for watching. Sophia, Scotty, Angel Warriors, Neckburn, you guys are all awesome. Thank you for being part of our chat. Mwah. God bless you all. See you soon.